Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining today. I wanted to talk about continuation sort of the last topic. The first couple of weeks we spent on looking at, introduction to Sanatan Dharma and the Vedas. We had a look at the ambit of Vedic literature. And then the third week, we looked at the concept of time in Vedic philosophy. And last week, we looked at the topic of Ishwar, the Supreme Lord, trying to understand who the Supreme Lord is. And this week, we wanted to focus on who are we in connection with the Supreme Lord? Who are we in isolation to understand our position? So we're sort of trying to go in a little bit of a sequence. And then next week, we will hopefully look at the impact of our living in the material world, in this world, the impact of karma and reincarnation. And then the following week, we will look at the modes of material nature under which we work, to understand which mode we're in, and also to understand how we can, if we understand where we are, then we can try to understand where we need to be, and how we can get there as well. Okay, so that's just a bit of an idea for today and the next couple of weeks. So Jiva, understanding who we are. This might sound very odd. I know who I am. I'm a man. I'm a, middle-aged. I am accountant. I'm Indian. Yeah, good. What else? I am bald. But is that actually who we are? And when we go to schools, this subject I always bring up. It's very, very interesting, and it's very easy for children, especially above the age of 8 and above, to understand the concept, because it's actually very straightforward to understand it. To realize it is a different matter. So understanding who we are, understanding what is our purpose of existence. Why are we living at all? Right? Why are we here? What are we meant to do? Why are we meant to do it? We're not going to necessarily cover all these aspects today, but the impact of trying to understand who we are will have an impact on having an understanding of what is our purpose of existence, and to understand what are we meant to do in our life, which again, we won't cover it today, but we will look at that at some point over the next few weeks. Okay. In this topic, and to cover Jiva, we're going to look at the Bhagavad Gita and one other Upanishad. Why the Bhagavad Gita? Because Krishna actually, his very, very first instruction to Arjuna is all about the Atma. And he spends I can't remember how many verses it is, about 12, 13, 14 verses, just describing about who we are. So it's worthwhile looking at this section of the Bhagavad Gita very closely in order to understand who we are. So it's part of chapter 2, contents of the summarized Bhagavad Gita summarized. And effectively, he starts from the 12th verse, but the 11th verse is always interesting to read, because he mildly tells off Arjuna. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, because Arjuna so far has been speaking, Krishna hasn't said much. And in the first chapter, you may be aware, when Krishna is bringing Arjuna in the middle of the battlefield in front of Bhishma, his beloved grandfather, suddenly Arjun decides he doesn't want to fight. And he gives many reasons, and good reasons as well. But Krishna is mildly telling him off. While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So this is interesting verse. A little bit Krishna speaks in riddles, but then he explains over the next few verses what he means. Never was there a time, this is text number 12, when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So immediately, Krishna is bringing Arjun to the platform of the Atma, onto the spiritual platform immediately. And he's explaining to Arjun, there was never a time when you did not exist, nor all these kings, nor myself. And in the future, we will never cease to be. We are eternal beings. We're eternal beings. How can that be so? Because we see everybody, well, we see the talk of death all the time, all around us. People are dying. So how is it that we will never die? So then Krishna explains, as the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth through old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So this is a really key verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And yeah, good point. I have got a picture to explain this. It's just a little bit further down. Let me just bring it up now. So Krishna is explaining, as the embodied soul moves, travels in this very life from a child, a baby, to a child, to a young man, to a youth, mature man, and an old man. So this soul is passing through so many bodies. And at the end, after it's finished its purpose in this body, that soul moves out of the body into another body. So this is the process of reincarnation. Now, when we go to schools, I ask the children 3 questions to convince them of that we are not this body, but we are the soul. And of course, when you tell somebody you're not the body, it's quite a bit of a shock. But then, because we can explain that, it's very logical, especially children get it immediately. So the questions are as follows. First question is, how big were your bodies when you were born? Show me. So they always show like this, small body. Second question, do you have the same body today, now? Do you have the same body? And because they're 8, 9, 10, 11, they say no. And that's absolutely right, because their body is like this, as opposed to the baby body. Then the third question, which is a clincher. Are you the same person? Your body is changed, but are you the same person? And invariably, the answer is always, yes, we are the same person. So then I always say to them, well, you proved it to yourself. You can't be the body, because you told me yourself, your body has changed. But at the same time, you're the same person. So it means you are more than the body. And then I explain that according to the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that we are this soul which travels in this life through so many bodies. So why is it a surprise that after it leaves this current body, it will enter into another body?
Scientists in 7 years.
Sorry?
Scientists say every 7 years.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Also, scientists also say that the cells in our body change every 7 years. So every 7 years, all the cells in our body have also changed as well. So in this, we're not the same body as we were 7 years ago.
Yeah, thank you for that. So this is an interesting picture. It's from one door, we're on the way out, and then enter into another, from another door. So this is leaving one body, entering into another body, coming back again. So,
Brittany's got a question.
yes, Priti.
Hare Krishna, I just wanted to make a quick comment there, if it was okay.
Yes, yes.
That picture that you got from, I think it's from a book called Coming Back, I think.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
And everyone who's on this class right now, I recommend. It's a really, really good book to read. So many examples of reincarnation from different scholars, not just Hindus, just various. Very, very good book. So highly recommend it. It's called Coming Back.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And it's a very cheap book. It's a small paperback book. Very nice book. So text number 14. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So Krishna in 3 verses has given so many different concepts. And this one basically says, look, happiness and unhappiness, it'll come and go. Just like summer and winter come and go. Don't be disturbed by them. Don't be disturbed by our happiness and unhappiness. Text number 15. O best among men, Arjun, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. What does liberation mean? We'll talk about that specifically in this one session. 16, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So we haven't changed. We're the same person that we were when we were born. We've gone through so many different bodies. And we'll continue to, the body will continue to change, but the soul will remain the same, no change. It's eternal. Then Krishna becomes a bit more specific about the soul. Text number 17, that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Because Arjuna was thinking, I'm going to kill my grandfather. How can that be? But Krishna is saying, no, you can't kill the soul. You can't kill the imperishable soul. And you should also know this soul, it pervades the entire body. So the soul, we'll see that later, it's tiny, very, very tiny. But it can control the body of an elephant, the body of a human, the body of an ant. So the living entity, the soul, is very powerful. So this is just a bit of an example. The residence of this soul in the body is near the heart, in the region of the heart. It's not in the heart, it's in the region of the heart. Okay. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharat. So when we have a body, it will die. And when we die, we will get another body. That's for sure. And Krishna repeats that again later on.
So basically he's saying, do your duty, because he's a warrior. So his duty is to fight. So that's why he's saying, do your duty.
Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. So this is important to know. We don't want to be in ignorance. We want to have knowledge. So Bhagavad Gita is giving that knowledge, which is, and is giving it in very clear terms. Easy to understand. Not so easy to put into practice, but easy to understand. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. It's eternal. He has not come into being, does not come into being, will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, everlasting, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So again, very clear language. Krishna is giving it to him in great analysis, but simple analysis. So just to convince him that we are beyond the body, we are more than the body. And it's very logical. As you can see from the 3 questions we asked, it's extremely logical. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Of course, this doesn't give us carte blanche permission to go and hurt the impermanent body of another. That's not the purpose of what Krishna is explaining here. What he's explaining to Arjuna is you have a duty to perform because you have law to uphold. All of these kings in front of you have been irreligious. And you, being a Kshatriya, have to do your duty of protecting Dharma. So it's in that context. Another very important verse, because Krishna gives an example. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up old and useless ones. So we know it, right? When our clothes get old, we chuck them out, we get new ones. So when this body gets old, we get another body. What is there to lament? Do we cry every time we buy new clothes? Get rid of the old clothes? No, we don't. So when our body becomes old and useless, and we have the opportunity to get a new body, it's a time of rejoicing. Of course, we want to make sure that we get the right type of body so that we continue on our journey of self-discovery. And that we'll talk about next week. This picture is quite interesting because it shows the different varieties of life. According to the Vedas, there are 8.4 million species of life. And they are subcategorized into aquatics or plant, tree, birds, that's right, animals and humans as well. And at some point, we might just have a look at the different categories, yeah. So we can potentially get a body in any of those 8.4 million species of life, depending on 3 factors, which we'll discuss next week. Okay. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So can't burn it, can't drown it, can't cut it up. This individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So maybe this is a good place to look at the size of the soul. I got my bearings a little wrong with this presentation. So, oh, this is definitely not the right one. Oh, where is it? Anyway, I'm supposed to have put in here a verse from the Svetashvara Upanishad, which describes the size of the soul. And the size of the soul is minute. It's described to be 1/10,000, the tip of our hair. So if you take our piece of hair, you chop it into the tip of it, chop it into 10,000 pieces, and then you that's the size of the soul. It's incredibly small, incredibly small. So we've done this. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you will still have no reason to lament. Well, If you're thinking that the soul will die, then at some point, everybody will come to an end. So why are you lamenting? Either you come to an end now or later. What difference does it make? Text 27, one who has taken his birth is sure to die. So this is the point that came up earlier. If we are in a material body, okay, I'll send this. We will die at some point. The body will die. The body will die, not we. And after death, after we leave the body, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. To do your duty. He's speaking to Arjuna. And then he gives a bit of philosophy. All created beings are manifest in their beginning, unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? This is a little more complex to explain, but it'll take time.
Which is they don't have a body, initially just the soul, and then they have a material body, and then again, when all the yugas finish, they lose their material body again.
So this is at the time of creation, and then at the time of destruction. Now, text number 29, very interesting verse. Some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So we don't want to be in that last category. We do want to understand that the soul is amazing. We are amazing. And we are only amazing because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. And we'll have a look at that in a minute, hopefully. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you should not grieve for any living being. So that's the last of the verses, the 30th verse. And so we saw from verse number 12 to 30, 19 verses, Krishna describes the Atma in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And if anybody hasn't read that, we've just read all the verses, but it's worth reading the verses and the explanation behind the verses. We recommend the Bhagavad Gita written by Srila Prabhupada. And it gives a very, very good understanding of who we are. If we're living in this world and we don't even know who we are, then we're going to miss the purpose of our existence. We're not going to understand why we are in this world in the first place. Very, very crucial to understand who we are. Okay. So just a quick summary. Krishna begins by teaching Arjuna the most fundamental understanding of spiritual life. So this is very critical to our spiritual development. If we can understand that we are spirit soul living forever, connected to the Supreme Spirit Soul, then that is actually the beginning of our spiritual journey. If we can't understand that we are separate from this body, which will die one day, then we will struggle. We will struggle with all of the concepts of Sanatan Dharma. This is like the very foundation of Sanatan Dharma. As the driver and this is a good example, as a driver operates a car, or as a bird lives in a cage, we, the spirit soul, are similarly utilizing this body. So when we are driving a car, the car is only functional when the driver is in the car. Of course, now with artificial AI, they may have cars which drive themselves. But the body will never be able to drive itself. It needs the Atma. It needs the driver. And similarly, the bird in the cage, if we don't understand the Atma, then we are going to be a little bit like the bird in the cage. We'll look after the cage, but we will not understand the bird at all. So the bird will die because all we're caring for is the cage.
And it's like just feeding the cage, the outer body, which we are doing. We're just looking after the body, and we're not feeding the soul, which is the bird. So the bird will wither away.
Yeah. Not die because it's eternal, but it'll sink into deeper and deeper ignorance. Okay. Although living within the body, we are simultaneously different from it, temporarily operating it to perform activities, fulfilling our desires and interacting with the world around us. This distinction is the first teaching that the Guru imparts. At every moment, our body is changing. We do not have the same body that we did when we were children, but we still remain the same person. So what is it that is not changing? It is important to realize our true identity as spirit soul. Otherwise, we'll continuously undergo this process of reincarnation, accepting unnatural material bodies. Because in this body, we'll never be happy because we are a permanent living entity looking for happiness in a temporary situation and the subsequent sufferings and distresses of life in this material world. So one of the lessons we gave to the children was that at least once a day, look in the mirror, probably when you're first thing in the morning, brushing teeth, and say to ourselves, I am not this body, I am pure spirit soul, servant of the Supreme Soul. We say it enough times, we'll believe it. It'll get integrated within our psyche, thought process. So these are just some of the characteristics which are described about the soul. Right? Worth just re-emphasizing so that we convince ourselves, because this is a fact. And we don't understand it because we are simply associating with this material body. Life after life, we've forgotten who we really are. Right? So what is the characteristic of the soul? Eternal, changeless, indestructible, imperishable, immeasurable, neither the slayer nor slain, no birth, no death, has not come into being, does not come into being, will not come into being, unborn, ever existing, primeval, immutable, cannot be cut into pieces, nor be burned by fire or moistened by water, withered by the wind, unbreakable, insoluble, neither burned, cannot be burned nor dried, everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same, invisible, inconceivable, and finally, amazing. Right. Okay, that's it. Yes. So how does the Atma connect to the Paramatma? And that's, I think we will take that topic up another time. Next time we'll look at karma reincarnation. And then we'll look at how we're living in this world. And then perhaps the time after that, we'll look at what is our connection. And then, yes, we can bring up the yoga systems, how to connect with the Supreme Soul. Okay. So any questions? It's past. Spent half an hour talking. Anybody, any questions? Ah, yes, Jahnavi.
Hi, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I have one question. As we come across like so many material bodies for some life,
Yes.
so my question is, how much time does it take to leave one body and take another material body in our life? And how we can know that if we do karma, we are going to take another body for our next janma, or if we believe in this, like what is exactly that we need to follow about life, the value of life. So how can we promote that to moksha and we don't get we don't get our soul into the another body?
Okay. Brilliant question.
Yeah. Brilliant questions. How long does it take from changing from one body to another body, right?
Uh-huh.
It varies. It varies very much. Sorry, I'm just going to mute you. Just a little bit of background noise, but you can unmute yourself after we've answered the question.
Sure.
It varies. It can be instantaneous, especially if one has lived a full life, because the next body is being prepared as we're living, because our karmas and our desires and our consciousness is being fulfilled throughout our life. If one has been particularly sinful, then there may be some time one spends getting, the reactions to those really bad sins. So that will stop the living entity getting another body until the right time. So that might take a little while. It can take up to maybe 11 months, something like that. If one is particularly good, has done really pious activities, but not spiritual activities, pious, they may go to the heavenly planets and spend some time there. And in the heavenly planets, they have different type of bodies. They have subtle bodies, not gross bodies like ours. But ultimately, they'll come back into this world when their good karma is finished. So that could take thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years even. So it very much depends. Animals are not subjected to karma. So if one has an animal body, then that living entity will go to the next higher level of consciousness within that group. Yeah. In terms of humans, of course, we suffer karma because we understand the distinction between right and wrong. And with that comes that responsibility that karma will have an impact. So a lot depends on our behavior, our actions in our life, how long it will take before we get the next body. It can be quick, it can take time. But your second question is very, very important. How can we act in such a way we don't get another body? And this is the whole purpose of the Vedas, of Sanatan Dharma, to encourage us to act in a way by which we remove our material desires and cultivate spiritual desires, and ultimately connect with the supreme beings and go back to the spiritual world from which we have come back. And this is what we'll do is, in essence, in very brief summary, the answer is by connecting with God in bhakti, in loving service, we can remove all of our karma, good or bad, and link with the Supreme and go back to the Supreme, not have another body.
And this is actually stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, because he says,
good,
at the end of when you're dying, your last thought will give you that new body. So if you're thinking of a pet, then you'll get that pet's body. It's your last thought that really governs what your next body is as well. Sometimes you get situations that the husband is thinking of the wife. So then in the next life, he'll get a woman's body because he was thinking of his wife. So in order to get out of this cycle of birth and death in material bodies. If you live your life that you're thinking of God all the time, and then so your last thought will be of God. So then that will help you come out of this cycle.
That's good.
So we'll cover that a bit more in karma next week.
Yeah. Within the next 3 weeks, that'll be covered. Is that
Yes,
okay?
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you
Thank
so
you for your
much.
question. And it's a really fundamentally important question. So
Exactly.
thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you, Ji.
Appreciate that question. Anybody else? Any questions? We don't have our usual the inquisitive guys, Kishori and Ishwari. They'll join us again next week.
Varsha?
Varsha, yes.
Yes.
You're muted.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
It's not Hare Krishna. It might sound a very silly question, but if the population of the world has changed from 2 billion to 7 billion, does that mean the soul has gone from 2 billion to 7 billion cases or different numbers?
No, actually, there are unlimited souls, and as you know, even the animals have souls, the plants have souls, the amoebas have souls. So every entity which has the 6 transformations is born, it grows, it multiplies, stays for some time, gets old and dies. They have a soul. So as the population grows, it just means that there are more people, there are more souls who are attaining human bodies.
Okay, this is very clear. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Because
question.
you realize that you hear of all these animals being extinct. So those souls are not going back to Godhead. So they're probably being born as humans. So that's why the human population is growing and their population is decreasing as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
It is complex
Yeah.
to understand how the dynamics of population works. So it's not a straightforward answer, but that's a little idea.
Yeah. And also, I think because in Kali Yuga, there's humans will have less spirituality, so they will attain. They won't attain the spiritual world. In other yugas, they would easily attain those, the spiritual world. So again, those humans are not leaving this material world. They were still staying in the material world as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's so many different angles to this.
Ashwin Bhai.
Yeah, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
My question is around what the current practice tends to be popularly. When a person passes away, we have the funeral and we hold what is called a Gyarmu, Barmu ceremony.
Mm.
And my sort of concept or understanding was that between the funeral and until the 11th, 12th day, the soul tends to sort of be within the family.
Yeah, correct.
And then we have that big ceremony on the 11th, 12th day. And then we say goodbye to the soul.
Correct.
And at that point, the soul sort of leaves the family behind for good.
Correct.
Now, is that how true is that?
Yes, that is actually stated in the Garud Purana.
Mm.
And
we're going to cover this when we're doing all the Vedic samskaras, or the different stages in life. So that is one of the topics that we'll cover in more detail as well.
But it's absolutely right that because of strong attachment, you see, we are very attached to this body. In fact, we only know this body. We don't even know the Atma. So when the Atma is forced to leave, he's really confused. What's happened here? I'm here. My body is still there. So he actually tries to even enter the body, and he's hovering around. And the relatives, because they're crying and they're in lamentation, that also makes the soul stay. Otherwise, generally speaking, a self-realized soul who understands that we are not this body, and I have no connection with the people who I was with because I'm spirit soul, he will immediately leave. And yes, there's one pastime in the scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, king called Chitraketu. He didn't have any children and he had many wives. So he was always lamenting. So one sage, Angira Maharaj, came to him and said, "What's the problem? Why is your kingdom in such a lamenting situation?" And this king said, "I don't have a son." "Okay," Angira Maharaj said, "I'll bless you with a son who will be great joy to you, but also great suffering." So the king heard the joy bit and ignored the suffering. He said, "Yes, I'll have your blessing." He had the son. The other wives got very jealous because the king spent all his time with the child and the main queen. They poisoned the child.
Yeah.
And the king was obviously, and the queen was in great lamentation. Angira Maharaj came back with Narad Muni and he asked, "Why is your kingdom in lamentation again?" "My son has died." So then Narad Muni said, "Okay, he has this special power. So I will call your son back." And he calls his son. He says to this, "Oh, Jiva, enter the body of this child again. Why did you leave so prematurely, causing so much grief to your relatives?" So the soul enters that body. This is the power of Narad Muni. And the first question he asks is, "Which parents are you talking about? I've had millions of parents in the past. Which parents are you exactly talking about?" And then that gyan, which that child gave and Narad Muni gave so much solace to the king and his parivar that they immediately gave up this lamentation mood of ignorance. So if when somebody passes away, we can help them by not lamenting, by not crying, by actually encouraging the Atma, by reading the Bhagavad Gita. That's why when somebody dies, especially in our culture, there's satsangs. Every day we have satsangs. That is to help not just the grieving family, but also this departed soul.
Oh, okay. And the ceremony that we organize after 11, 12 days tends to be quite a long,
Elaborate.
To understand.
Yes.
And it is hard for youth of these days to appreciate.
It is.
What is that they are asked to engage in.
It is.
And with the best endeavors of the priest, it still feels like this is mumbo jumbo. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that needs to happen is to increase the understanding as to what the meaning of the ceremony is after 11th day.
Yeah.
And the second question I had was where the soul comes back as a human soul or comes back as...
The soul is not human, right? The soul is spiritual. It can come back as a human, but if its activities, and we'll discuss this more next week.
Yeah.
If its activities are that of animalistic, then it'll be one of the animals.
Okay.
It'll go down again.
That's a good explanation.
Yeah, and we'll see next week exactly what are the factors involved in getting the next body, which is really powerful. No, thank you.
Yeah.
This point about the ceremony, you're absolutely right. It can look very strange. Now we've done a sort of
a seminar on I think it was during the time of Shraddh, so explaining exactly what one must do in Shraddh and also why we do this, and also connected it with when the soul passes away. So maybe we can do one session on this.
Yeah.
As part of these.
I think it's a good idea because that will help everybody on this journey, because everybody has parents, everybody has children. And if we can understand, look, what do we do at the time of departure? It'll be for everybody's benefit. So, because children will benefit in the sense of they will understand, okay, we need to do certain things to assist our parents in their journey.
Okay. And the other thing that comes to mind is when a child passes away, the belief is we bury them rather than cremate.
Correct.
Because I presume, like animals, they don't have a soul.
No. Well, generally, it depends. If this child is born in a family of bhaktas, it's said that they have some final bits of karma to finish before going back to the spiritual world. And that's the reason why they've stayed a very short period of time, just to finish off that last bit of karma.
As a rule of thumb, people tend to believe that anyone dying under 5, then they are buried, not cremated. Is that
right?
Correct.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah, because until the age of 5, the karma doesn't act on that child. The parents really carry the karma until the child is 5. So basically, it had some karma from the previous life to finish off, and it's like a sadhu leaving the body. You know, some sadhus you don't burn them, you bury them. So it's a similar concept because they're pure-hearted at that.
Sorry, I took a little longer.
No, that's okay. Thank you. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. So I tell you what, time is up, and Pari, would you like to put up the
code and the website?
The link, yeah. So Pari very kindly again has produced she's an amazing girl. She's doing GCSEs, hardworking, and the family does kathas almost every week. And yet she still finds time to
put a quiz together.
So really appreciate your effort, Pari. Oh, and you can share your screen, huh? So do we have the code?
Not yet.
She's still working on it.
I'm gonna put the code in the thing now.
So everybody can join. This is the Quizy or something. QUIZ.
That Harish has got the link there, so you can just double click on that.
Harish, great. You're always more awake than us. Thank you so much, Harish.
You have to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Prabhuji, I'm doing my A-levels, by the way.
Oh, yes, that's right. She's even more busier than normal. Yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah, I forgot. I still think you're a little kid. You're growing fast.
Code. Enter code up there.
Enter code. Okay,
046
046
237.
Oops, hang on.
046
046
237.
237. So hope everybody's joining, as many as possible. It's always good fun.
Prabhuji, I'm going to share my screen. Is that fine?
Yes, please.
Yes, go
yes,
ahead.
please. Thank you. So, and this is all going to be taken into account when we do the certificates and give the prizes, of course.
So, how many have joined?
16.
Okay.
Anybody else to join yet? We will wait for you for a minute. Anybody who is struggling?
Yeah, for quiz. Okay. I'm just joining.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Manhar, Nimai, please join. Pramesh, Pratmesh, Lokeshwar.
So there's 28 people in total, so -3. I think 25 people.
25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we've got
-4. We've got three things here.
17, yeah. So we got 19 so far. Anybody not joining? You don't have to join. I know Bakulabin won't join. Okay, if we're not waiting for anybody, you can start. Huh?
20 people. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Start.
So this quiz is from last week. Does God exist? What are some of the common arguments made by atheists? God is not visible, so he does not exist. Everything happens by chance. Why is there suffering if he exists, or all of the above? Yes, so all of the above.
Mhm.
Who was the famous French philosopher that wrote a book on chance?
Good one.
Jacques Monod, Nelson Mandela, Stephen King, or Margaret Atwood?
And he won a Nobel Peace Prize for it as well.
Bravo G, that's the next question. You gave it
Oh.
away.
Don't.
I'll keep it
I'm going to
quiet.
mute him.
That's fine. At least everyone's going to get full marks in the next one. So, what prize did Monod win for his book? Orwell Prize, Goldsmiths Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, or the Prix Goncourt? Yes. So, I mean, this one was obvious. What are some counter arguments that devotees have? If there is a creation, there must be a creator. When there are beads, the thread is covered. Why do humans have the tendency to worship, or all of the above? Yes, so it is all of the above. Darwin himself also wasn't able to support his theory fully. Is that true or false? Yeah, so it is actually true. He couldn't support it completely. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls strung on a, and you must type your answer. So this is something that Lord Krishna says to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Thread, string, yeah, these are all right. Yes, I'm pretty sure for everyone who wrote thread, string, or necklace, actually, is also those three answers are correct. How many opulences does the Supreme have? 3, 4, 5, or 6?
Just to clarify, it is unlimited, but
Yes, I mean, yes.
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
unlimited.
I know you're coming from, yeah.
In the
main
definition,
ones, yeah.
there's six main
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. And you've given it away.
No, I've answered by then.
Yeah, yeah.
One Supreme Lord, many demigods. Is that true or false? Yes,
Well done.
Wow. Yes.
very, very true. In the Brahma Samhita, what is said? Sorry about that typo. I'm the creator and first of the Trimurti. Krishna is this supreme Godhead. He is he referring to Krishna. He is the origin of all, or all of the above. And this is what Brahma is saying. So what does he say in the Brahma Samhita? There's two answers for this.
That was good. Tricky question. Good.
Yes, so it's actually the middle two. Krishna is the supreme Godhead and he is the origin of all. That is what he said. Which demigod is in charge of water? Kuvera, Vayu, Indra, or Soma?
I don't think it's any of them, is it? Trick question.
Probably it is.
Yeah, of course. But it's Varun, isn't it? The ocean.
Oh, this one's actually a bit tricky.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good. He's actually in charge of rain.
Rain.
Yeah.
Yes, so Indradev is in charge of rain.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Water
That's
is
good.
Varun, but
No, that's good.
It's
That's good.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
a trick question.
Yeah.
I like it.
So which demigod is in charge of electricity?
Oh, good.
Indra, Brahma, Yama, or Vivaswan?
Good.
The four people that said Indradev.
That's me. One of them is me anyway.
Well, one more person left to answer. Oh, time up.
Time up.
Yes, it was Vivaswan. So majority got it correct.
Good.
Who can be considered as an avatar? Predicted in scriptures, performs extraordinary pastimes, divine and unique, signs on palms or soles, or all of the above. So what are the features to be considered as an avatar? Yep, majority again got it right. It is all of the above.
Good.
So yeah, so this was the last question.
Okay. So
The results are loading. So the third we have Lokeshwara, second we have Harish
Wow.
Babuji, and first we have
Sorry. Yeah.
who is
PG.
PG? Who's PG?
Who came first?
Yeah,
could you
who is
please
PG?
clarify?
Is it Pankaj? Prashad?
No, Prashad is Prashad. Okay.
We're not sure who. There he is. Who are you, PG? Reveal yourself, please.
Praveen.
It's Praveen.
Oh, well done.
Very good. Excellent, actually. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you, Pari. That was fantastic. Well done.
Oh,
Oh,
he's-
PG, you're 12, Praveen. Is that right? You're 12. Wow, amazing. Well done. Thank you very much.
very good.
Amazing. All right. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. Oh, exactly 2 o'clock. Brilliant. So we try to keep it from 1 to 2. And thank you for everybody for joining. And we shall look forward to seeing everybody next Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Supriya.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody. Really good.
And if any questions arise later on in the week, you can just put them in the group as well, and then we can answer them as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Krishna, Supriya.
Thank you, Supriya. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thanks.
Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You.
Thank you, Leena. Thank you. Harish.
Hare-
Thank you, Harish. Oh, Harish.
Yeah,
I
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Prabhuji. Thanks.
I wanted to ask you, just if you could just send me your address for gift.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Veda.
Veda, for gift aid purpose. If you just message me your address.
Sure, Prabhuji. I'll send.
Thank you. And we need to do a satsang sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Are you settled in first class now? No problems at all?
Yeah, I'm settled. I mean, only thing is this time the flight I got is small for satsang purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that
But-
flight was good. That hall was big actually.
Yeah. But it's only 6 months, no?
Yeah, I mean we are looking. We'll see. We'll change most probably, but it's almost 5 months now. Yeah, so we'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever. And how is Rakhi doing?
Yeah, she's good as well. Yeah, yesterday we went to ISKCON, that London temple.
Okay.
There
Good.
was there. I have joined the Gita class as well, so there was a retreat there.
Oh, wow. Very good.
Good.
Very good. So you're learning lots, huh? Very good. And anything we should do differently, you let us know, huh? Please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Huh? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare-
Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Jahnavi.
Where are you, Jahnavi? Where do you live?
I live in New York, Connecticut, next to New York.
Wow.
Wow. So it's early morning for you.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. Usually I work on Sundays, some days.
Oh,
So last week I couldn't make
right.
to attend this class, but this week still I'm working, but still I'm keeping my little time to,
Oh, well
to
done.
space it out a little bit. Yeah.
Are you in the group? Are you getting the recording?
Yeah, exactly, Guruji. Yeah, I requested and I'm just forwarding with that.